Good morning. So, what is this all about, and where does it go from here? So that's the purpose for this video. Maybe I'll do a sort of series of them. And I guess there's a couple of sub-narratives here. One is just to describe what has happened for somebody that's thinking of having a similar operation and track their sort of recovery journey. And there's a little sub one is, I'm curious to know whether I'm ever going to be back playing the guitar again. I'm not a very good guitar player, let me add that for emphasis, but enjoy it as a beginner. And I'm curious to know whether that's something I'll be able to do again. So a little bit of context. So this is all about an operation on my left hand, and I have had something that is called Dupuytren Contracture. So if you can imagine this being my left hand, essentially Dupuytren Contracture is a sort of genetic condition, and the tendons start to contract, and my little finger had pretty much got to this kind of angle fixed, which, as you can imagine, for a not very good guitar player, makes it even more difficult. A whole lot of other reasons clearly why I've had it done. Today is Sunday. 2 days ago, I had my hand operated on and essentially cut open, and the tendon sort of released to hopefully straighten up the finger, put some mobility back in the finger. If I'm honest, it's all been bandaged up since then. I have no idea how successful that has been. Hopefully in a few days' time we'll find out when the bandage comes off. So I guess just some reflections on the last few days. Yeah, pretty painful at times. So there's been a whole load of painkillers, paracetamol, brufen, which, yeah, particularly in the nights, it's kind of probably needed just to sort of get through the sort of dull pain of that in the nights, but nothing too excessive. Don't want to overly play that either, but yeah, thus far, slinged up, painkillers, obviously plastic bag for a bit of washing, and you know, wearing it high. I think that's pretty much all I can say at the moment. Let's see where this journey goes. So just to give a update, it's been just over a week since the operation. So Saturday week from when I had the operation, 8 days ago. What would I say? So I have been told I'm going to get it taken out of this, and presumably the first round of physio is coming Wednesday. So it's going to be getting close to 2 weeks, basically in the bandage. Don't know if that's normal. It's just what's been told to me. I think theoretically I'm still meant to be wearing a sling, but I'm sort of getting a bit bored of that. I'm sort of taking it on and off, to be honest. Frustrations, it's the obvious of, I kind of spend some time obviously working on a keyboard, and that is hugely frustrating. I thought it would be about 50% productivity hit, one hand taken away, but it feels a lot lower than that even, so that's frustrating. With a desk-based job, putting clothes on, a bit of a struggle, albeit getting really dexterous with one hand. Saying that, wife just helped me with my socks this morning. Pain, I think even after the first few days, there were a couple of nights where it was quite painful, painkillered up at night, but after that it's absolutely fine, really just dull ache. Yeah, I guess now it's just really curiosity. I'm just kind of really keen to see what's going on in here. Yeah, I think that's all I've really got to say at this point. See you for the next one. So, by way of quick update, it is now day 15 after the operation, and 3 days ago, day 12, as you can see, the bandage off. Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly talk through what that was like, and yeah, just sort of what's been going on since. So anyway, there's the hand out of the bandage, and yeah, so what it was like. So, well, first off, it was day 12, and I kind of asked the physio, is that right? How many days normally till the whole bandage comes off? He said, no, it's normally between 10 and 14, so it's perfectly normal. And yeah, took it all off. We then, he was brilliant actually, but I've got to say, a great guy. So then he cleans it all up and go over to the sink, and it's under running water to get rid of all the dried blood, etc. I've got to say, the feeling of that, I'm not squeamish at all. I had no problems with looking at the wound. I was quite fascinated by that. But the sensation of the running water, I don't know if it's the first time the hand coming back out into the open, but super sensory overload. I felt really, really lightheaded. Yeah, that was kind of quite an interesting feeling. He said that was very, very normal. I think hands are probably overrepresented when it comes to sort of the nervous system, I guess. But yeah, that was sort of unexpected. Anyway, a sort of an aside. Yeah, cleaned it all up, and essentially the steri stitches, or the steri strips, the stitches all came out, by the way. Steri strips, and what you can see is effectively, you know, a couple of plasters. And then really to explain the kind of routine of physio from here on in, which is essentially sort of small doses, but, you know, regular, 5 to 6 times a day was recommended, which was to sort of, you can imagine with this hand, to hyperextend, close 10 times slowly, taking it to a point of sort of discomfort, not pain. Then to hold it in the extension for 3 minutes, to do the 10 clench extensions again, and then to hold the clench as tight as you can, again, discomfort, not pain, for 3 minutes. And to do that kind of routine, circle through that 5 or 6 times a day, which I'd started doing as of, I guess, 2 days ago. And if I'm honest, and maybe just to kind of know this, is, you know, I'm a pretty upbeat guy, and obviously having this kind of with optimism. I must admit, feeling a bit despondent. First couple of days, I mean, there's an element of discomfort. Clearly, that's not the issue, but I think a sense of, was it worth it? Being wholly honest, I kind of feel it's not going to move much more than where it is now. It feels very weird. It feels very wooden. It feels like it's somebody else's finger, effectively, and it's really not particularly pleasant going through this routine, but more from a sense of, am I ever going to get my hand flat on the ground, on the floor again, which was, you know, on a table, for example, which was one of the ambitions. And if not, if it doesn't end up much better than this, you know, if the sensation doesn't come back to normal, then, you know, was this whole thing worth it? I think is probably the best way of summarizing it. So yeah, at the moment, feeling, if I'm honest, just a little bit low with it, and asking that question, but, you know, fully recognize it's still early days, so I'll keep you updated. Just remembered something else, which I thought I'd talk through, the sort of the daily cleaning routine. So maybe I'll even put up, again, maybe not for the squeamish, but a photo of my hand straight after. Coming up now, turn away if you're not up for this. But you can see maybe in there, there's a bit of an open wound and sort of granulated, you know, sort of, I guess, mild but not worrying infection. And the routine with that then is every day to essentially aggravate that open area with a bit of tissue, basically, get it to sort of mildly bleed again, and then to, you know, to reapply all the dressings. So yeah, that's the sort of the daily routine, you know, re-cleaning, reapplying this, and then obviously the sort of stretching that I mentioned earlier. Thought I'd mention that. Speak soon. So 3 weeks, 2 days since the op, and just to update on some activity, latest thoughts. So you can see here, I'm in this little sort of plastic splint. So that went on Wednesday this week, 5 days ago. So yeah, just shy of, I guess, 3 weeks. Went to see the physio just to catch up, and checked out flexibility of the fingers, and said, no, this is a good time now to go into a splint. So obviously molded to your particular circumstance. And I guess the idea with this now is wearing it pretty much most of the time, other than to take it off and do the regular sort of stretching, you know, mobility exercises, which, you know, still aiming for sort of 5 to 6 times times a day. Wound all good. Skin falling off, but I think, you know, it's a simple little pad and plaster now, and it looks like that's all going in the right direction. It's really just this question as to, you know, what mobility is going to come back, particularly for me in the little finger. You know, when I do the scrunches and extends, it still feels like I'm scrunching something that's, I don't know, feels like there's a load of material in there that's not really even my finger, and I can't push it down far enough. But yeah, going through those routines. And I guess, you know, the key for me was, can I get my hand flat on the floor? And if I sort of push down there, you know, it's pretty painful in the palm of my hand, but at least I kind of get a sense there may be an end game where I can put my hand flat on the floor again, do a push-up, etc., which is pretty key. If I can't get back to that, I think I genuinely will have a sense of, was it worth it? But I think I spoke probably about a week ago. I was a little bit despondent. I think I'm probably feeling slightly more optimistic that there is potential after a lot of this, that it might be good to go for that. But yeah, it's, you know, it takes up a chunk of the day doing this all the time. You know, it's I don't know, it's just a bit mildly frustrating, I guess, tinged with still, was it worth it? But definitely massive progress in a week, just in terms of wound healing up, and, you know, maybe a glimpse of what mobility might be able to come back in, but it's going to need a load of work. I'll keep you updated. 4 weeks in, or 4 weeks, 1 day, some quick thoughts. You can see, other than a simple plaster now, there's a little bit of open wound still on the palm. It's all pretty good, healing up. Probably not so great on the physio exercises this week. I was working away. I sort of probably got a bit distracted with work, so maybe not so good on the sort of, you know, regular routine, but, you know, still ticking it over with it. But I think overall, definitely some more positive vibes. I can get my hand flat on the table now. It's still a bit painful, but I can, it's painful in so much as in the palm. It still feels like it's really having to stretch to get flat if I push it down, but it is flat. That feels like real progress. You can see there where it is now, and in terms of flexion. So yeah, definitely 4 weeks in, feeling like progress has been made. I'll keep you updated. Just to say, still wearing the splints, wear it during the night. It's kind of, there's moments where it's a bit painful, but it kind of, I tend to keep it on all night with a strap up, and most of the day as well. But I suspect when I see the physio this week, I'll be looking to get a new one. So, where are we now? Well, time-wise, we are 7 weeks and a few days, about 7.5 weeks after the op, and I suspect this might be the final installment, and I'll try and find a time to edit this video and put it together. Yeah, I guess a number of things to say. What have I learned since the last one? Well, I went in to see the physio probably a couple of weeks ago. Mentioned that my finger was super kind of sensitive to anything really, but, you know, particularly to the cold. It's winter here in the UK, and yeah, that was of some concern, because I think the sensations should have calmed down a little bit by now. Not, you know, unduly concerned, but some concern. So recommended one of these, like a little odd looking single finger glove you can put on like so, to protect, particularly if you're outdoors in the cold. Yeah, and I guess that conversation was a lot about just making sure that spend a lot of time just massaging the finger, giving it different sensations. You know, we talked about having 10 different types of touch material, kind of brushing up against it each day. Recommended some E45 cream, some hand cream for doing that. That tends to sit in the pocket. And actually for Christmas, I don't know if the physio would recommend this, but I got bought this little, it's called a Shakti ring, and you can do that, and that gives quite a sort of yeah, kind of quite a vicious sensation, I guess, in the context of a sensitive finger, but I've been using that as well. Again, I'm not sure if the physio would recommend this, but I think it's in that context of different sensations, and just It talks about kind of, doing that when you're just kind of, your mind is elsewhere, watching the telly, happy conversations, and you kind of almost rewiring the brain to just associate different sensations with happy thoughts, and essentially trying to calm, the way I read this, just sort of calm down the kind of the nervous feedback loop. So yeah, that's probably still an issue. It feels like it's probably a little bit better than it was a few weeks ago, but still hypersensitive to, kind of cold touch, etc. In terms of physio, I probably have not been as religious as the, recommended half a dozen times a day, 10 contractions, full extension for 3 minutes, 10 contraction extensions, and then, holding it in that posture for 3 minutes. Pretty good in the morning. Morning routine will be to do that, hold it against the shower wall for 3 minutes, and on and off through the day. But I'm definitely getting less disciplined about that. But overall, I guess what I would say is that the range of movement is much, much better. You can see I can pretty much get my hand flat on the floor now, and I can pretty much get it into full contraction. And I have to say, I guess, as final thoughts, one of the reasons why I decided to get this done was, I've done CrossFit for over 10 years, and I couldn't even get my hand flat on the floor. I couldn't therefore do a push-up. I couldn't do a handstand, push-up. I was struggling to get my hand over a bar in the gym, struggling to even struggle to pick up a bar with my little finger getting in the way. So that was one of the triggers for just deciding to bite the bullet and get it done. And you can see, actually, I should have said, the wound now is pretty much gone. There's a little bit of scarring, but from a wound perspective, totally cleaned up. So I'm actually back to the gym, very light gym, in the last week or so. First push-ups, first handstand press-ups, sore on the wrist. Haven't been out of action for a long time, probably best part of a year and a half. And it's just starting to sort of, use my hand again. So my final thoughts would be, whilst not out of the woods, still feels a bit sensitive. I'm hoping that does calm down in the next, months or so. My final kind of reflections are, I'm really glad at this point I got it done. And if you remember, I guess it was a couple of weeks after the op, I was pretty genuinely despondent. I genuinely questioned whether the whole trauma of having that sort of type of surgery was going to be worth it for the outcome. Now it feels like no-brainer territory. I feel like it has massively sort of improved quality of life as pertains to having a workable hand, even playing the guitar badly again. So hopefully helpful for people that are thinking about it. No medical kind of expertise gone into this, just a layman giving you patient's view as to the procedure and what happens in the aftermath.